Welcome back to CBS News. I'm Lana Zach.
And I'm Lilia Luciano. It's coming up on the 1 o'clock on the East Coast, 10 o'clock out west. We are waiting for former President Donald Trump to leave Trump Tower and make his way to Lower Manhattan to the criminal court for his arraignment.
We have team coverage to guide us through the events over the next couple of hours, which are unprecedented in the country's history.
We want to bring in now CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga. Nicole, I have a list of about 100 questions for you specifically. But let's talk about security measures and what the U.S. Secret Service has been doing ahead of today's court arrival. Just how intricate has that all been?
Yeah, Lilia, Lana, it's good to be with you. And Lana used the word unprecedented. In many ways, this is like no other day for Secret Service. But in some ways, it's like every other day. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I've been speaking with federal and local law enforcement sources throughout the week. I'm told the courtroom has already been swept. It will continue to be swept up until the arrival of the former president. And any individual who will be in that courtroom in Manhattan Criminal Court will have to enter through mags. So they'll have to be screened, wanded by federal agents, similar to if you were to go to, you know, a rally or a political event with a sitting or former president. Now, outside the courtroom, the NYPD has been working with the Secret Service to shut down many of the roads leading up to the courthouse. You'll also see that NYPD has put up barricades around protesters who are in the park nearby, you know, barricades in between protesters and counter-protesters. You know, going back to Secret Service, I just want to, you know, point out one thing. It is interesting, wherever the president goes, the Secret Service will go. So we should not expect, you know, there to be any sort of handoff today.
And on that note, CBS News national correspondent and streaming midday co-anchor Errol Barnett joins us now. Errol, you are there outside of Trump Tower. Any moment now we expect to see the former president arrive. I imagine Secret Service is already out there. What's the scene like now?
Well, Lana and Lilia, I can tell you that there is a shot of the side of Trump Tower. You'll see an FDNY ambulance there. It's basically where we expect to see the former president perhaps exiting the building and entering some of the security vehicles outside. We know from our colleagues with the pool team saying that some drivers have entered the vehicles outside the door. NYPD now fully blocking off 56th Street to foot traffic, which we hadn't seen earlier. And certainly above me, you may be able to hear just some of the many helicopters wanting to witness history unfold as the former president heads into his arraignment. We're about 10 minutes from when we expect this to take place, but next to where we are on Fifth Avenue, the NYPD is walking up and down the street right now, telling the general public to get off the street and make way. So it certainly feels like they're getting ready to move the president out of his New York City home and get down to the courtroom for his arraignment. The mood still relatively calm and peaceful. There's way more bystanders and folks in the general public than there are protesters or demonstrators. So we're just standing by now to watch Donald Trump as he's escorted by the Secret Service and NYPD to be arraigned in Lower Manhattan.
While that happens, Jessica Levinson, a CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor, is going to join us now. Okay, Jessica, what happens once former President Donald Trump arrives at the court in Lower Manhattan? What do you expect this process, or how long do you expect it to take? We've already learned that there is not supposed or expected to be a mugshot. Is that kind of a special treatment for him? Just walk us through what we know and what we expect.
It is a special treatment for him. So typically what would happen is that you would get your fingerprint taken. That would be electronic. You would have a mugshot. You would be processed through the system. You would spend some potentially short amount of time in custody. You would wait for the court to call your case. Normally, the courthouse is not cleared. Normally, of course, the Secret Service is not there. You would walk into the courtroom. It would typically be busy, and the court would say, here are the charges. How do you plead? And that part is typically actually rather quick, and I think it will be very quick today. So, yes, obviously, there's so much attention to what's happening outside right now. But I think when it comes to the specifics of the procedure, there are certain steps that have to be taken for everyone. What we've seen is that there are allotments that are being made because we're talking about the former president. Typically, you don't have to talk to Secret Service when you're making arrangements to arraign a criminal defendant. But what we all need to look for in this case, even though there are special arrangements, are we still seeing equal justice under the law? And so I think the whole time in the courthouse will actually be quite quick. As I said, the charges will be read. The former president will say, I plead not guilty, and he will go back to Mar-a-Lago tonight.
So, Jessica, on that note, equal justice under the law, what laws do you foresee being at the center of these charges?
That's everybody's question. So I think we have a good sense that the basis of this complaint, the basis of the indictment, is the falsification of business records. And the idea that when the former president repaid his former attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, for the hush money payments that Michael Cohen made to Stormy Daniels and or Karen McDougal, the former Playboy model, to basically make sure that they did not say they had an affair with the former president, that they separately had affairs with the former president, that was a falsification of Trump's business records because he listed those as legal expenses when they really weren't. For me, the big legal question is, and what will that be hooked to? Because we know that's a misdemeanor charge. So how do we move from that misdemeanor charge up to a felony? What the prosecution is going to have to show is that the former president formed the intent to commit or conceal another crime. And what I'm looking for is, what is that other crime? Is it another state crime? Is it another federal crime? You know, we can get into the specifics of what those would be, but to me, that's the big legal question mark for today.
Well, as we prepare for what's about to unfold, and something that we've been foreseeing now for almost a week since the indictment came down, is this day of arraignment. I want to bring in Nicole Sganga just to continue, talking about what New York is facing today. Nicole, what do you know about just the logistics that go into this process? We discussed a little bit about NYPD and the Secret Service, but once the former president is out, and Lana was commenting on this earlier, what happens here and what concerns are there in terms of security? How robust is NYPD's plan? Because what we learned from Richard Esposito is that, look, Alvin Bragg, the DA, just today faced more threats.
Yeah, absolutely, Lilia. And I think, one thing that's important to point out that is not unlike a typical day of a former president with Secret Service protection. You saw Errol reference that shot to outside Trump Tower, where we anticipate that perhaps the former president will be seen getting into, a vehicle for his motorcade. But we will not know what route is taken to the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse until the former president arrives. And that is by design. Typically, a Secret Service detail lead will choose that route just moments before, a departure. And that is, by design to protect, a current or former president, a protectee of the Secret Service. In addition to some of the Secret Service preparations we talked about, of course, NYPD has been planning for a possible arraignment, possible activity in this case for weeks, really, in coordination with other law enforcement. They have ordered all 35,000 officers to be in uniform and on standby. Yep. And, we also have seen, by design, that many of, law enforcement movement has been limited, including the former president's movement. Yeah. He wasn't seen out and about yesterday, and we don't expect he'll have much movement outside of that.
Certainly hunkered down there in Trump Tower until the next few minutes when we expect to see him walk out to head to the arraignment. Nicole, thank you. We're going to take just a short break. You are watching CBS News on this historic day of the arraignment of a former president of the United States.